On the morning of June 30th, 1908, a man sitting on a porch in Siberia felt his bench fly out from under him. He was thrown to the ground. The sky split in two. A column of fire, brighter than the sun, raced across the horizon. Then came the heat, so hot that the man thought his shirt had caught fire. Then came the silence, and then came the blast, a sound that would be heard more than 600 miles away. Windows shattered in houses 1,000 kilometers from the epicenter. In London, seismographs recorded the shockwave. In Washington, D.C., barometers jumped. The explosion flattened 80 million trees, over 2,000 square kilometers of forest, an area the size of Tokyo. And yet, no impact crater was ever found. No fragments of a meteorite. No pieces of a comet. Nothing. The blast was later estimated at 10 to 15 megatons of TNT, 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. But whatever caused it left no trace. This is the story of the Tunguska Event, the explosion that shouldn't exist, the mystery that has baffled scientists for over 100 years. To understand why Tunguska is so strange, you first have to understand how a normal meteorite impact works. When a large space rock hits the Earth, it digs a hole. The Barringer crater in Arizona is 1.2 kilometers wide. It was created 50,000 years ago by a meteorite just 50 meters across. The crater is still there. At Tunguska, the explosion was thousands of times more powerful. But there is no crater, not even a small one. The first scientific expedition to the site did not arrive until 1927, almost 20 years after the blast. The scientist who led the expedition was named Leonid Kulik. He was a mineralogist, not a ufologist, not a fringe scientist. He was sent by the Soviet Academy of Sciences. Kulik traveled by train, then by horse, then by reindeer, then on foot. When he finally reached the epicenter, he expected to find a massive crater. He found nothing. Instead, he found a wasteland of fallen trees. But the trees had fallen in a strange pattern. They were flattened in a giant butterfly shape, radially outward from a central point. At that central point, there was no crater, only a small swamp. The trees near the epicenter were not knocked down. They were still standing, but they were completely stripped of their branches, as if they had been hit by a blast of unimaginable heat from above. Kulik was confused. He spent years searching for meteorite fragments. He drained the swamp at the epicenter. He dug trenches. He found nothing. No iron, no nickel, no space rock, only tiny spheres of melted glass scattered across the soil. For the rest of his life, Kulik tried to solve the mystery. He died in a Nazi prison camp in 1942, but the mystery of Tunguska lived on. Over the decades, dozens of scientific expeditions have visited the site. They have used modern technology, ground-penetrating radar, magnetic surveys, geochemical analysis, and they have found no crater, no meteorite fragments, no comet ice, no radioactive anomalies, nothing. So what happened at Tunguska? The official explanation is that a comet exploded in the atmosphere before it could hit the ground. A comet is made mostly of ice and dust. Unlike a rocky asteroid, it would leave no fragments. When it entered the Earth's atmosphere, the heat would have caused it to explode in a massive fireball. That fireball would generate the heat and blast, but it would leave no crater. It is a good theory, but it has problems. Comets are dark. They are hard to see. No one saw the Tunguska comet coming, but thousands of people saw the explosion. They described a column of fire that moved horizontally across the sky. Not vertically like a falling meteor, horizontally, as if something had changed direction, as if something was under control. The horizontal trajectory is one of the great puzzles of Tunguska. It suggests that the object was not falling straight down. It was skimming the atmosphere, like a stone skipping across a pond. If it was a comet, how did it stay intact for so long? Why did it explode at that exact point? And what about the glass spheres? They are called magnetic spherules, tiny balls of melted iron and silicate. They are found all over the Tunguska site. They could have been created by a cometary explosion, but they could also have been created by something else, something hotter than a comet. In the 1960s, a different theory emerged, the nuclear theory. Scientists had begun to study the effects of atomic bombs. They noticed that the blast patterns at Hiroshima and Nagasaki looked similar to the blast pattern at Tunguska. The flattened trees, the thermal radiation, the melted glass. It all looked like an airburst nuclear explosion. But in 1908, there were no atomic bombs. So what could have caused a nuclear explosion in the sky over Siberia? Some scientists proposed a natural atomic bomb, a geologically created nuclear explosion. But no evidence has ever been found. Others proposed something more exotic. In 1965, two Soviet physicists suggested that Tunguska was caused by a piece of antimatter. Antimatter is the opposite of normal matter. When antimatter touches matter, they annihilate each other. The result is a pure conversion of mass into energy, a much more efficient explosion than a comet. A small piece of antimatter could cause the Tunguska blast, and it would leave no fragments. But the antimatter theory has a problem. Antimatter would have annihilated high in the atmosphere. The explosion would have been even higher than Tunguska, and there would have been gamma radiation. Scientists have looked for gamma radiation in the Tunguska soil. They found none. Then came the black hole theory. In 1973, two American physicists suggested that Tunguska was caused by a small black hole, a primordial black hole left over from the Big Bang. The black hole would have passed through the Earth. It would have entered the atmosphere at one point and exited at another. The explosion would be caused by the shock wave of its passage. It is a wild theory, and no evidence has ever been found for a black hole punching through the Earth. Then there is the UFO theory. It is the most famous theory outside of science. The idea that an alien spacecraft crashed or exploded over Tunguska. The horizontal trajectory could have been a ship trying to land, or trying to avoid a collision. The glass spheres could be melted metal from the craft. The lack of fragments could be explained if the debris was destroyed or removed. There is no evidence for aliens at Tunguska, but there is also no evidence against them. The scientific community dismisses UFO theories, but the mystery remains unsolved. In recent years, a new theory has emerged, the geophysical theory. The idea that Tunguska was not a space object at all. It was a massive release of gas from deep within the Earth, from the same kind of geological structures that create diamonds. Methane gas, hydrogen gas, trapped under pressure for millions of years. A sudden release could cause a massive explosion. It would leave glass spheres. It would leave a horizontal blast pattern. It would leave no meteorite fragments. But would it create a fireball visible for hundreds of miles? Would it cause seismic waves recorded around the world? The geophysical theory has not been proven. Work continues at Tunguska. Every few years, a new expedition goes into the swamp. They drill, they sample, they scan, they find nothing. The mystery endures. Today, the Tunguska site is a strange place. The fallen trees have not rotted. The soil is too cold. The permafrost preserves them. They lie in the same pattern they fell in 1908, pointing away from the epicenter, pointing at the sky. The new trees that have grown are twisted. Their rings show strange growth patterns, as if the soil itself was changed by the explosion. Scientists have found isotopes in the peat layers, isotopes associated with nuclear reactions, but they cannot explain them. The mystery of Tunguska matters, not because we need to know what happened in 1908, but because understanding Tunguska could save lives. A similar explosion over a populated area would kill millions. Cairo, Mumbai, Lagos, Rio, any could be the next Tunguska. A comet from the dark, exploding without warning. Governments track large asteroids, but small comets are hard to see. Tunguska was caused by an object no more than 100 meters across, an object that would be hard to detect even today. We are not prepared. The mystery of Tunguska is a warning, a reminder that we live on a target, a reminder that the sky can split in two at any moment, and a reminder that some mysteries may never be solved. What happened over Siberia in 1908? Was it a comet? An asteroid? Antimatter? A black hole? Aliens? We may never know. But the story of Tunguska is not just about the explosion. It is about the scientists who traveled to the ends of the earth, who waded through swamps, who fought permafrost, who chased a ghost. It is about Leonid Kulik, who gave his life to the mystery. It is about the people who saw the sky split in two. And it is about the place itself, a forgotten corner of Siberia, where the trees still lie flat, where the soil still holds secrets, where the silence is broken only by the wind and the mosquitoes. Subscribe to Echoes of the Lost. Turn on the notification bell. And do not forget to listen to what history left behind. This was Tunguska, the explosion that shouldn't exist.